Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. We need to talk about young, special talent Noni Madueke, the English under-21 winger that Chelsea bought for under £30 million in January. Signed on a long-term deal and has warmed the bench ever since. We got this guy from PSV and I'm going to be honest, like many of you, I didn't know much about this guy. He's natively a right winger, which is nice. He's left-footed and likes to dribble and take a man on. Great, sounds good to me. A wonder kid, I guess. But he is 20. He's not some 17-year-old we're finding out about. And he's come from Tottenham. I felt like, by now, an English 20-year-old, I should have probably known about this guy, and I didn't. Anyway, Football Manager players did, and people who know more about football than I do knew about him. So Chelsea signed him for, like I said, under £30 million. It seemed like a lot of money for a player with not a massive profile, but in terms of the profile and style of player, and him being English, and maybe being a position of need on that right side, it looks like intelligent business, especially with him starting to shine slowly for the England team. Now, of course, he hasn't been called up for the senior team, but he plays for England's under-21s, and boy, did he explode on the scene last night. Good opportunity for me to quickly remind you guys to drop a like on the video, make me feel good about the content I make for you guys, and why not subscribe if you're new? You are, of course, welcome to do so. So that's right, England under-21s took on France under-21s yesterday, and by the way, those of you who will know, that France under-21 side is absolutely special. It's incredible. Another one for the football hipsters. If you look at the talent top to bottom, it's very, very good indeed. And they lost 4-0 to England under-21s. 4-0! I actually think Benoit Badiashile might have been in the French defence, which isn't good. Still, the important thing to note is, off the bench in a 20-minute cameo, our boy, our 20-year-old winger, Noni Madueke, came off the bench, scored a goal, assisted to, ultimately seeing him win man of the match in just 20 minutes. A game where you win 4-0, 20 minutes cameo, man of the match, and that's because, ladies and gentlemen, he had a hand in 3 of the goals. Maybe the goalkeeper should have done a bit better on his finish, but the point being, he came off the bench, he dominated, he looks great. There's a star man running down the right. His name is Madueke and he's ruddy dynamite. You know. Basically, it's lovely to see and I'm feeling good about it. Which begs the question, bodes the question? I suppose it could bode the question. Why aren't we using him? Now, off the bat, it's important to say that this dude is a winger. Sure, he likes to cut inside and maybe occupy middle spaces, and you got a great assist like that coming inside. But he is a winger, and right now we're playing a wing-back system. And when on form and when fit, both Ben Chilwell and Reece James can arguably be our most important players. Now, Tuchel reign, right back to the Antonio Conte reign, it does, I always say this, it makes you a little bit concerned, like when you're reliant on this system to be so heavily reliant on wingbacks, it makes you feel vulnerable everywhere else. Should one dip form, should one get, injured, then everything falls apart. Now, for the moment, I don't think anyone can demand we change back to a back 4 system. Graham Potter tried it, to his credit, didn't really work. He reverted back to the 3-4-3. Chilwell's looking great again. I know we drew to Everton, which felt like a loss, but it's 4 undefeated after 3 consecutive wins. Now, I'm not going to pretend like we're like some Galactico team in form, but seemingly it's working for Graham Potter and Chelsea-ish at the moment. Now, the problem with wingers is they like to occupy the same space, or they naturally occupy the same space as wingbacks. Especially when it's like a conventional winger like Noni Madueke or indeed Hakim Ziyech, that, they both will come inside, but generally they want that license. And of course he's on loan, but Callum HudsonOdoi, I think perhaps Callum Mudryk is a little bit more of a sort of running into space and therefore doesn't necessarily need to be so out wide. But still, these guys probably thrive in more of a front 3 system where you've got conventional fullbacks rather than wingbacks, taking up your space. So here lieth the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the likes of Misha Mudryk, and by the way, I think he probably will be integrated properly and well. In the same way, maybe Graham Potter's done well with Mark Cucurella, but Noni Madueke, this guy, his country isn't having been war-torn at the moment. He's an English guy. He knows the Prem, and even though he's been playing in the Eredivisie, he's settled culturally. And in terms of integration, I don't think he'll have a big issue. Also, of course, he tears it up for England's under-21s, and that side is still riddled with Premier League players if you look at the lineup. So where does that leave us? Do we try and shoehorn them into this formation and play them as these sort of narrow inside forwards in a 3-4-3 system and just try and change the way they play? Or do we keep them the way they play and say, look, you've got a big future after the summer, where we have a bit of a clear out, we've managed to rebuild the midfield in such a way that we can play a 4-3-3 again, and of course Malo Gusto will be available to cover Reece James, who looks like he might have a hamstring injury yet again. Of course, he's withdrawn from the England squad to come back and rehabilitate, hoping, touching wood, crossing everything, that it's largely precautionary. But the more times we see this with Reece James, the more concern there's going to be, and the more relief there'll be that the likes of Malo Gusto arrives in the summer to offer some real competition and some conventional backup in the right back position, and not just playing Ruben Loftus-Cheek there. So, is that the long-term aim? Get this 4-3-3, and then, the likes of Ziyech is gone, and, pour one out for Callum HudsonOdoi's career, he's been riding the bench at Bayer Leverkusen. Massive talent, by the way. I had high hopes for Callum HudsonOdoi, but it just looks like it's not happening, which is a real shame. Dude is still 21 years old, by the way. He's not like a 27-year-old, what happened? There's still time. There is still time. Will it happen at Chelsea? I don't know. Shout out to Levi Colwill as well, who's at England under-21 international, playing really well. Of course, he's on loan at Brighton for the moment, so we'll see what happens with him post-summer. But really the question with Noni lies, can he get his way into this Chelsea team? Of course, he has played minutes. I believe he's even started under Graham Potter, after January. And he has got this sort of tenacious, exciting element about him, but he's not like an explosive goal scorer. He played really well yesterday. He does look creative, and if you can find a way that he can click in this Chelsea team, he can offer that sort of dynamism and something a little bit wild-cardy and different on the pitch. So could you play him in the front three? He already talked about wanting to link up with Reece James, so I guess he could play that right inside forward, combining with Reece James if they get an understanding where to go into which space at which time. And then he can look to create for the other two forwards, the midfield. I guess it would continue to be Kai Havertz, who missed a penalty, I think, for Germany yesterday, scored the follow-up, but that didn't count or something. Datro Fofana's been playing for our development squad, but that's probably good just to get him games. Of course, Aubameyang's kind of in that sort of camp of, you got Aubameyang, Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, these kind of forwards are they're seemingly done. Pulisic had a start for Chelsea against Everton. If he's fit, he'll fancy his wing. Do you start Pulisic, Kai Havertz, and then Noni Madueke in the front three? I'm not enough of a coach to know if that balance works, if they will, get in each other's way, if they will combine well, if there's goals there. Of course, we've already seen the aforementioned Misha Mudryk play as kind of a centre forward last time he played for Graham Potter. Is that something we'll see again? Is Noni the kind of player that can play in an on-running Mudryk, through the middle? I'm not so sure. I know Graham Potter's not the most popular guy in the world, and he isn't with me either at the moment, to be honest. When you're it's just tough to get overly excited. I do have a bit of sympathy when you're not forced to play a back three system, but it is seemingly the right thing to do, and then to have all these new players, including wingers, to try and somehow play. Do you try and change them, or do you keep them as what they are and what made them good, and make them hold out until you can revert back to a back four system? It is tough, bro. I wanted to talk about it because he was the man of the moment yesterday, Noni Madueke. He won man of the match, like I said, in off the bench, which is incredible. A lot of people were rightly talking about him, and he looked like he was expressing himself, and he said all the right things afterwards, yeah, wicked, let's go, let's take this form back to my club. The dude wants to play for Chelsea. He's gassed. He probably realises how this is a unique time in our history that we bought him. Chelsea generally wouldn't just randomly go buy a PSV 20-year-old English winger who's not in the senior England team and generally doesn't score goals. They look at how he plays and they looked at, oh, he's got slight wonder kid vibes, and he probably was quite smart to go and test himself out in Holland for a few years, and this very data-led approach. This is like the quintessential Bowley Clearlake era data-led purchase on Noni Madueke. This is so far from a Roman Abramovich signing, it's untrue. Especially they would look at 29 million, like, what is this? But if it works, it will look like the most canny business ever. People, record signings Enzo Fernandez, but I genuinely think he will look after himself. He already looks great. I think he'll keep people not talking about him. It won't be a Romelu Lukaku. It won't be a Jack Grealish in his first season, or whoever's cost loads of money, and Anthony at United who just catch so much heat because they cost so much money. I genuinely think Enzo Fernandez will just look after himself in terms of, proving his worth, which I really believe he's already doing. Of course, we're going to have to see this with Mudryk. It's not his fault. We need to find a way to, Potter and Chelsea need to find a way of making him integrate and bringing out the best of him. He's seemingly very, very driven, very athletic, and provided you coach him right, I think the talent's there. Noni Madueke, if we make this work for 29 million, if he becomes a starter in Chelsea, and in the era of, gargantuan transfer fees, one of our starting 11 players, English, young, costs 29, under 30 million pounds, which obviously sounds like a lot of money, but it really isn't comparatively, less than Danny Drinkwater 5 years ago and stuff like that. Then suddenly people will be talking about the good, intelligent business Chelsea has done. So there we have it. I wanted to talk about it. I'll be very interested to learn what you guys have to say about this down in the comment section below. So please do express yourself, chat with each other. I look forward to reading said comments. Drop a like, and you are welcome to subscribe if you want to, and hit that bell if you do. Alright, mwah! I'll see you on the next one. Ciao, ciao, peace.